You see this bullshit right here? This shit exactly like him. Just like Ghost.
Well, if I ever see you again, maybe by then I'll be worthy of his name, right?
We ain't never gonna see each other again.
One of the most common things we hear when it comes to power is, if you're not dead, there's always a chance you can come back. For example, Detective Santana, Destiny, Ramona, and Agent Medina, who I'm going to come to later on, as well as a few others. But the same goes for what we now call the Power Universe. There's always a chance you could cross over from Ghost to Force, and vice versa. When it comes to Raising Kanan, it does become a little tricky, because Power Book 3 is a show set in the early 90s, and in essence, the writers are able to create their own unique show, giving it their own unique identity, but also having to stick to some of the original storylines in Power, especially because we know how the storylines of Kanan and Duke ended. But we do have to say, we don't know what happens to Rock, Marvin, Lou, Unique, or Howard, which is where it does start to become interesting, because we all know this game ends up in death or jail, and no doubt, many of them will probably end up 6 feet deep. But I wouldn't be surprised if we were to see an older Symphony, or at least another character to tie the whole Power universe together. And that's the focus of this video. How do they tie the storylines of Power Book 2 Ghost and Force? So let's remind ourselves of what happened at the end of Power Book 2 Ghost Season 2.
We recovered stills from a long shot in the lobby, but it's pretty grainy.
Tariq St Patrick.
At the end of Season 2, we saw the return of Blanca Rodriguez, where we found out Mecca was Blanca's CI, but with the death of Mecca, she now has a new case, and it's who shot Mecca, and her eyes are firmly set on Tariq St Patrick. So let's just pause here with Power Book 2 Ghost, and fast forward to the ending of Force Season 1.
There's dead Serbs too, plus local Chicago players. I want to move on it.
So let the Chicago office pick it up.
I really think something big is happening.
You can keep an eye on it, but I need you here focused for now, yeah?
At the end of Power Book 4 Force's first season, they hinted at trouble for Tommy in the form of law enforcement, something which was foreshadowed very early on when Officer Vargas and Kayla snapped these images of Tommy walking out of Gloria's bar. These images then wound up on AUSA Marx's desk, where they had a throwback moment to when Angela was describing Ghost.
He's got no known turf, no true allegiances, answering only to himself. He's like a ghost.
So very much like at the end of Season 2 of Ghost, a parallel to Force was how both Tariq and Tommy both ended up on images in the hands of law enforcement, and soon they're gonna have something in common: Blanca Rodriguez. When we saw Blanca Rodriguez getting wind of the bloodbath at the end, she wanted in on the investigation in Chicago, but Agent Medina told her he needed her in New York. But what happens when Tommy's pictures find a way over to Blanca Rodriguez's desk? Because Agent Medina did say to Blanca Rodriguez she could keep an eye on the case. And let's not forget, Tommy's also supposed to be a man who's supposed to be dead, and I just want you to hold that thought for just a moment, because I think it's important for us to establish and break down the relationship not just between Tommy and Tariq, but also Tasha. Now, at the end of Power, we saw Tasha killing Lakeisha because she was forced into agreeing to cooperate with Blanca Rodriguez, who used Cash to strong-arm her into making a deal. Ironically, this was something Kate did warn Tommy about. When push comes to shove, Lakeisha will choose Cash over Tommy, and she was right, just like she was with Teresi and also Holly. Now, Tommy's also a character who suffered a lot of heartbreaks and setbacks, from killing Holly with his bare hands, only to find out she was carrying his unborn child, to then losing Lakeisha, leaving Cash without his mother. And so we saw Tommy head straight over to Tasha's apartment, after he saw Tasha's earring in the belongings of Lakeisha, which was given to him by Blanca Rodriguez, and in my opinion, Tasha did earn her death. But Tommy gave her one last chance, a chance which she used up when she name-dropped Tommy in court in Power Book 2 Ghost Season 1.
The man who killed James St. Patrick is Tommy Egan.
And so it was only going to be a matter of time before we saw Tommy Egan return to New York. And Tommy's a character who needs no introduction, but he made a comeback in typical Tommy fashion when he shot up Monet's bar trying to kill Tasha. And so Tariq knew he had to speak to Uncle Tommy, and with 50 Cent's Many Men playing in the background, Tommy was back.
I gave Ghost my word I wouldn't kill you. But I swear to God, you don't get your skinny ass up off my ride, I will beat your ass right now.
I heard you came from my mother.
Don't worry, I ain't done. She gonna catch a hot one for sure.
The relationship between Tommy and Tariq wasn't in the best of places, especially after Tommy saw it was Tariq behind Ghost's death, and so the reception was always going to be a little frosty, but they did come to a deal. But we all know Tommy, and he still tried to take his shot on Tasha, one which Tariq was 3 moves ahead of. But this is how they left their relationship at the end of Power Book 2 Ghost Season 1.
We ain't never gonna see each other again.
Now, even though Tommy did say he'll never see him again, Joseph Sikora did tease time and time again Tariq will need Uncle Tommy's help at some point, but it may even be the other way around. And so circling back to the beginning of the video, the reason why Tommy may need Tariq's help is because of Blanca Rodriguez. Blanca Rodriguez is a character who's been after the St. Patricks and Tommy ever since she was introduced to Power, and let's just say, she's not exactly a fan favourite, but when and if these images drop onto her desk, it's gonna be trouble. And I wonder what's gonna happen when Tariq realizes they're onto Tommy. Could we see him calling Tommy and warning him, or could Tommy even call Tariq? Because I don't see Tommy coming back to New York, not anytime soon anyway, because he is supposed to be dead. Cooper Saxe saw Tommy blow himself up at the end of the car chase in Season 1 of Ghost, so he thought. And he's also a man who's been after the St. Patricks and Tommy from the very beginning of Power. So where we talk about Cooper Saxe's potential death in Ghost Season 3, could we come across a scenario where Saxe finds out Tommy's alive and heads over to Chicago? Because it does seem like they're setting up this crossover in the form of law enforcement, and Tommy and Saxe have a history that runs deep. So Tommy crossing paths with Saxe again is something I wouldn't mind seeing in Force. Now, another way they can make a connection from Ghost to Force is through Markovich, because he was said to be someone who has business in New York, and let's not forget, Monet and Tariq still need a new connect, and that's something they need to address early in Season 3. There's also been a mystery surrounding 2-Bit and Cristobal, who were teased to be coming in Season 2, but never appeared, and who knows, they are characters who could potentially tie in with a new connect, as well as bringing back some old Power vibes. It also goes back to how I mentioned if you're not dead, you can always come back. And so the same could also be said about Tasha St. Patrick.
If you let me go, I'm gonna go after Tasha. I ain't never gonna stop.
Tommy said he's never gonna stop chasing Tasha, and not just for what she did to Lakeisha, but for snitching on him in Season 1 of Ghost. And it was also because of Tasha he had to fake his death for him to start fresh in Chicago. But this is also a story I don't expect to come to fruition until much later in the Power universe. But one thing we can guarantee, Tommy will never forget, and if he ever gets wind of Tasha, I'm sure we're gonna see him try and take that shot, unless Tasha does Tommy a big favour, and it would have to be a big favour for him to let her off on Lakeisha's death, as well as name dropping him in court. She's also a character who may or may not pop back up in Ghost, especially because Tariq does have a phone in Yasmin's bear, so there's also that to consider when it comes to Tasha, not just her relationship with Tariq. But that's a breakdown of the crossover we need to keep in mind, and it is going to be interesting to see how they make this work, especially as Force will most likely air straight after Ghost Season 3. So drop all your thoughts down below on how you think Tariq and Tommy will meet again, and will Tariq be worthy of Ghost's name when and if they do? Drop all your thoughts down below in the comment section, and of course if you are new to the channel and you haven't done so already, then remember to smash the subscribe button if you want to see everything Power Book 2 Ghost and Power Universe related. But as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.